All right, guys. So earlier this week, I released a video explaining how the Status Pro X True Wireless earbuds were sent out to me. And while testing them, they actually bricked during an update in the app. It made them useless and pretty much where I could not finish the review. So I had to email the company. The owner actually responded back to me and said it was some kind of problem with the first batch of like pre-released earbuds, because these technically do not come out until like September the 15th or 16th. And so he just said he'd send me out a new pair. And he did. And so when I opened these up and I opened up the app, I was pretty nervous because it said that these had an update available. But luckily, everything went fine this time. I didn't have any issues. And so I was able to finish the testing on these. So that's what we're going to do today. And although I kind of went over some of the specs and all in the other video, I'm just still going to go over some of those because there's some of you that probably didn't see the video. And I'm just going to treat this like this is the first dedicated video on the Status Pro X. Now, the Pro X follows the same path of the previous Status Audio True Wireless earbuds because it uses a triple driver system. They did, however, upgrade to a 12mm dynamic driver instead of the 10mm they've used in the previous ones. And they also have two custom Knowles balanced armature drivers. Now, this time the earbuds and the case are both smaller, so this is going to make a lot of people happy that thought the other ones were a little too large. The case supports Qi wireless charging, so you don't have to use the USB-C cable they've included. And the earbuds have smart sensors that will pause if you take them out of your ears, and it'll just go back to what you're listening to once you put them back in. And the controls on the earbuds this time around use both touch controls on the outside and a physical button up top. Now, the touch controls on the outside also have like swipe gestures, and you can switch these around within their app, but you cannot switch around controls on the actual physical button. But I am happy to say, though, that out of the box, you do get control over everything anyway. And then speaking of the app, outside of being able to keep these updated, there are some pretty interesting EQ options in here. Now, out of the box, it's in a status signature EQ setting, which I think most people are going to be completely happy with. But there's also a status audiophile EQ setting. There's a Knowles preferred EQ setting, which was the one that I like to listen to. And then there were some other ones that focused on podcast and vocal enhancement. And then I also found this other feature within the settings to turn on dynamic EQ. And this allowed these to have some pretty good punch in the low end, even if you were listening at like lower volume. So it's not one that you had to turn up all the way. But this was a little more hidden than the other EQ settings. And then if you want to, you can just customize the EQ settings the way that you want with the 8-band equalizer that's in there. But also within the app, you can turn side tone on. So if you're going to be taking phone calls, you can actually hear yourself in the earbuds, and this just kind of keeps you from yelling. There was also two different Find My Earbuds features. So like if you left your earbuds outside of the house, it could use GPS to locate them. Or if you just left them in the house, you could just locate them by having them use a beeping sound. It just makes it where you could just hear them if you left them in the room somewhere and not have to, GPS locate that they're in the same room with you. And then outside of that, the app allows you to switch between noise canceling off, and the transparency mode. But speaking of the noise canceling, this is where I felt like they were going to really have to step it up to make people comfortable spending $299, because that's what they retail for. Although right now, because you can get them on a pre-order, you can actually pick them up for $249. And I'll have all of this in the description. But luckily, these do compete with the Sony and the Bose because they're in that same price range. But the problem that I had with the noise canceling is that it was pretty much all or nothing. There was no way to go from like a slider from 1 to 10. It was just pretty much at a 10 at all times. But that 10 is doing a really good job of not only blocking out engine noises and AC units and things like that, it does a really good job of just blocking out people talking. The ambient mode also in these earbuds is very, very good. Everything around me sounded pretty natural. It was really easy to carry on a conversation and just never felt like I had to take my earbuds out. So the Pro X does come in with an IP55 rating, so it's nice to see that they're giving you some dust protection on top of having that water protection, because I feel like a lot of companies just kind of overlook having some protection against sand and dust and things like that. The battery life on these is very good because it comes in at 8 hours on the earbuds on a full charge, and about 24 hours total using the case. So this will get pretty much anybody through a full day. And another thing is these are very comfortable. I didn't have any issues with these moving around. So they were easy to also wear all day and not feel like I had to take them out, just kind of take a break. Now, for you guys that do like to use your earbuds for phone calls, these are actually advertised as having the best wireless call quality. And this is mainly due to them using what is called voice loom. This is basically just AI being used on top of the 3 beamforming mics that are already kind of focusing in on your voice. But the AI is doing what it can to block out a lot of the sounds around you. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. So here is a quick mic test using the Pro X. I am outdoors. It is kind of noisy. You could just hear a car go by behind me. I just hear traffic off to the side. This is just to give you an idea of what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's move over to the sound. Now the status signature EQ that are on these out of the box, I felt like was very nice. It definitely gives these quite a bit of punch. It's way more bass than the previous status audio earbuds have had. But I did also feel like the bass kind of added too much warmth to the sound. However, I did find that the Knowles preferred EQ was the solution for me. It definitely brought up the treble to give these a nice sparkle, way more brighter than it was with the tuning out of the box. And the other plus is you didn't lose the low end. Now it did seem to tighten it up just a little bit. So it kind of left the sound sounding just really clean and still punchy. There was a lot of details in the sound and it had a nice sparkle to it. The mids I felt like was just pushed slightly forward so that you could hear vocalists really cleanly over everything else that was going on. And the sound stage and the sound imaging sounded nice and open. It was really detailed from where different things were coming from, as long as you're not using the noise canceling. The noise canceling kind of closes this in a little bit, but this is always the case with noise canceling earbuds and headphones, so just to be expected anyway. So overall, I feel like Status Audio has another hit on their hand. In fact, these will be replacing my Sony WF-1000X M5 earbuds, because in my opinion, they already sound better than those. But now they have comparable noise canceling. So if there's situations where I need noise canceling, these have this, and I'm not sacrificing having lesser sound quality by going with the Sonys. But again, noise canceling is not something I use very often because if I leave it on all the time, it will affect not only the sound quality, but it'll also affect my battery life. So always keep that in mind if you're going to be using noise canceling or high-res audio with LDAC and things like that. It does come at a cost. But overall, these are a high recommendation. This is going to be my go-to earbuds, and it falls in line with pretty much my experience with the other Status Audio true wireless earbuds. They're just some of my favorites. But guys, that wraps up my video on the brand new Status Pro X. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.